I am out of storage up in this motherfucker. Talking some shit to me here online before I go online. I don't appreciate all that. YouTube. On YouTube right now, all right? But I don't even have to be. I could be wherever the hell I want to be, probably. And, of course, part of me wants to be over there on X, all right? Because, in various ways, it's just becoming, honestly, like more superior to the YouTube, even in regards to convenience, which is like really only that's YouTube's only like selling point. It's just that it's pretty convenient. But X is way more convenient. Have you seen my man Elon? He's part of Dark Mega. We're taking over, right? The new form of MAGA is called Dark Mega. You better watch out. I thought about Dark Brandon, but also that made me think, what the hell is Joe Biden doing right now? Probably. I don't know. I don't know if he might be at the White House, actually. I have no idea. I don't know if we have any way of finding out. But in the meantime, there's plenty going on, plenty of chaos, plenty of very concerning things happening, I'm sure. More than we could shake a stick at. Thing is, I'm not going to look into all of them, all right? But there's definitely some I got right in front of me. Like, for example, well, I don't know, I guess this took place earlier today. Um, some people might already know. I don't know. It looks like it happened today, maybe a few hours ago. All right. That's what it's looking like. Maybe early afternoon this took place. All right. But there was some sort of Palestine protest going on over there at the White House. And this one fella, if you didn't know, he set his left arm on fire. And of course, he did this on purpose. And the thing is, I'm actually looking at an article. There's plenty of articles talking about it. And I've actually seen a video or two of this guy setting himself on fire. And as I read the article, I don't know, I guess he explained himself somewhere in which there was a reason for him simply to set his left arm on fire. Right? And just his left arm. It's somewhere in this article, and we might go ahead because we need to get to the bottom of this. Am I right? But later on, he does talk about why exactly the thing is. You can gather that he's a pro-Palestine person, and I remember it being something like he said, "I set my arm on fire." Uh, in dedication, I suppose, to all the limbs. He was saying, all the limbs, that had been lost by plenty of Palestinian children, is what he said. And so, if you just take him at his word for him saying that, it's like, okay, I'm not going to deny that there's a slight bit of logic to that, all right? Because of all the Palestinian children's limbs. I mean, there's a little bit of logic to it. Okay, so I mean, I want to appreciate that, but also, what do you mean, just their limbs? It's almost like you're just caring about their limbs. And I know I'm getting all semantical. You just lit your arm on fire. I'm wondering why, because gosh dang, it's like a lot of people who I've seen. Unfortunately, I haven't seen a lot of people, but they be setting them whole bodies on fire. And my assumption is that they're actually wanting to die. All right, hopefully fairly quickly, but they're not in charge of that. But over here, you set your left arm on fire, right? And it sounded wild, and you were screaming and carrying on. And the thing is, like, I mean, there might be a slight possibility, but I would also assume that it's very, very unlikely that you're going to die from this. These other guys trying to take the easy way out, they're engulfing the whole body on fire, and so they're expecting to die. All right, thereby escaping whatever pain that they haven't already felt by lighting themselves on fire. But in this instance, this man right here, he couldn't have expected that he was probably going to die, and he certainly didn't die. So now, and I don't know if I've ever seen this before, and perhaps people out there have seen this before, but now this man just has to sit there with a burnt, crispy arm. And they already gotten word from this fellow. Let me go ahead and read some of this here article just so that you know what the hell I'm talking about. I was looking around for a video. Thing is, I see a video. Gosh, I do see a video, and so we're gonna go ahead and play it. And I would have to hook up my speaker real quick. Shouldn't be a problem, but I do want to be careful, all right, because this man's screaming his lungs out. He's really on fire. He's on fire, right? So he's screaming. We want to make sure it doesn't like get too crazy. But all right, so the article, here's an article, and it's one of many on Telegraph, telegraph.co.uk. Pro-Palestine protester sets himself on fire outside of the White House. Only today, photojournalist screams in pain, and that he did, while officers try to put out flames with bottles of water. All right. And I assume, honestly, that that's probably what you're supposed to do. Of course, you don't want them to keep being on fire. I'm not sure if water is the best thing, but perhaps since you got it on hand, you might as well do water, I would assume. I say that to say, gosh, I don't know what exactly is going to show in this video, but a video that I've seen already was a strange man walking up to this man and pouring on a liquid onto his arm. But we'll get into it. We'll get into it if it comes back up. I don't want to get off too much in the weeds right now. This man, he set his left arm on fire. And not to get too gruesome and stuff, but the thing is, it's pretty bad. And I know a lot of people already seen. It's like, I don't want to get too semantical, but you're lighting your left arm on fire, and it's because of all the limbs for the children. But what about the children who died? So a lot of them have died and not just lost limbs, or who knows, maybe they got shot in their head. I mean, it's like I don't even want to even say these words. What I'm saying. A lot of these things have happened. It's not just their limbs that they've lost. And it would be kind of awkward, and it would be bad already if it was just their limbs, but that would be awkward. But you chose to be just your limb as a representation for only when they lose their limbs. If there's something hyperly important about your limbs, and you're just going to go ahead and living with a crispity arm. So real quick, I just want to read: a pro-Palestine protester set himself on fire outside of the White House after he vowed to give his left arm to children in Gaza who had lost their limbs. All right, so pretty much meant he actually wrote this or something. He vowed this. I don't know. Like maybe he wrote this down before or after. Not really sure. All right, but pictures show police officers and bystanders rushing to help the man, who was identified as photojournalist Samuel Mina Jr. I should have got some water at the start of this here broadcast. That's crazy. But anyways, Mr. Mina was taken to the hospital for treatment for his injuries. which were not life threatening. Like I just said, I wouldn't assume that they would be, although, it's pretty damn painful, might give you a heart attack, maybe. Footage from the scene shows Mr. Mina screaming in pain as he holds his burning arm in the air while officers try to put out the fire with bottles of water. And I do kind of want to see. I saw a video previously. Oh, dude, I do got some water. Yeah. I had seen a previous video. Hold on one second. I don't know, man. Actually, I do think we can find the previous video. I don't know if we'll have to, but I do think we can find it now. In the meantime, let me see if I can get the audio for you a little bit. It's on YouTube. It's not as cool as X, not by a long shot, but if we were on X right now and I was going live, I would just simply turn the camera. I would be able to flip it, show you exactly what I'm looking at right now, but I really can't do that right now, not on YouTube. Not with this inferior technology and platform. But shout out to everybody who might see me here on YouTube, man. Like, I appreciate y'all. I was just covering this. I'm just gonna cover this story real quick for the novelty. All right, it is some of that breaking news. But of course, there's many, many, many other things that are much more important than this. Um, for example, the hurricane. There's another hurricane. I forget what it's even called. Milton, Hurricane Milton, or something. It's coming through, and it's either fixing to hit Florida, or maybe it's already currently hitting Florida. I'm actually not even sure. You know, I'll find out and stuff, but it's not hitting here. It's not raining here. All right, but I have seen, like, for example, a video of a lady, some sort of lady, and I think she was actually up in the government or something like that. And she's putting out a PSA for certain people in certain parts of Florida to get the hell out of there. All right, because something bad's going down. Plus, they're already kind of reeling from, I guess, all that previous rain which they got. I mean, I can't say that I even close to even understand it. I'm probably gonna have to look at maps and graphs and stuff like that. But gosh, man, I'm just thinking about it. I know everyone else knows, and I'm pretty dumb. I'm sorry about that. But the previous, what was it, Helene? The previous hurricane, that hit like a lot of places, huh? Anyways, we are going to talk about that, the potential, before we get up out of here, because it's pretty damn important. Not, it's like not, all right. When it comes to weather weapons, right? They exist. They absolutely exist. And we'll talk about it here in a little while. But whether or not they're being used, I think that would be the debate, wouldn't it? I don't know if there was a debate. I don't know. I think that might be it. Whether or not these weather weapons, which we know exist, um, we know it because they admitted that these weapons exist like decades and decades ago. Like, we're not psychic geniuses when we know that weather can be manipulated. The question would be whether or not they're manipulating the weather. And I got an insight that I want to share with y'all about that. But then, furthermore, the election coming soon, talking real soon. All right. I mean, this month's going to go by like nothing, like no time at all. And so we're hunkered down over here and we're just waiting, watching. I want to talk about some of the most practical possibilities that might be, possible here in the very near future. All right. So real quick, I want to set this up. Take the Bluetooth off of here, and I'm gonna turn the Bluetooth on here, and then perhaps power on. See, that's the thing, man. That's loud as hell. Technology fails us from time to time, right? I'm all over here trying to be quiet and it's just not outrageously loud. All right, you turn on your technology and it doesn't even care, and it starts shouting at you and turn the power on. See if we can get it connected real quick, and then we'll see if we can catch this guy. And he'll be screaming his head off. He just lit himself on fire. He lit his left arm on fire to prove a point. I wonder if he actually did prove a point. Bluetooth pairing. Bluetooth connected. Only time will tell, I would imagine. So look at a picture of this guy. Before we come on the video, I just gotta wonder what exactly is up with this guy, this type of guy, right? It seems, I don't know if it's just me being overly judgmental, and I do doubt it, but he looks very soft. The man himself looks soft. And I'm sure it's not everybody who's self-immolated themselves that they all look so soft, but this man looks doughy, soft, and clean shaven. In fact, it's hard to tell if he can grow facial hair and stuff, but he is kind of like got the receding hairline it would let you know that maybe he's older. He's wearing some sort of pink shirt, which is all right, but he really can't pull it off. He really, really can't, but he's wearing it. And I'm noticing also, his left arm, it is set ablaze right here in this picture that I'm seeing. And it's kind of turning like a blackish right there. Or maybe that's just a shadow. But on his right arm, he's got a bracelet. I don't know what exactly, but you can imagine like with wooden beads on it. Looking like a friendship bracelet or something like that. It's kind of whack, right? But so that's the kind of idea of who it is we're dealing with. I'm gonna replay it and see if I can get the sound. Let's see what kind of sound's coming out of this video, real quick. That was pretty dumb. All right, so that was a 14-second long video in which there's going to be plenty of cell phone videos from many different angles concerning this here incident. With a little bit of typing, I can go back to a video that I had seen earlier, actually, of course, from a different publication, a different angle of it, someone different who is video documenting this stuff. Pro-Palestine protester. He sets himself on fire. This one's a little bit longer, and I guess you get a little bit more detail in it. And you can hear the guy saying stuff like, that's especially why I want to play this. And I don't know how good you can hear from the audio. Hopefully, well enough. Turn it up a little bit. And let's see what he says out his mouth. I think it's going to take 1 second, all right? Here we go. Okay, so later on, I'm going to go ahead and video document this, and I'm sure everybody and their mama is going to, so that, you can visually see what it is that the hell we're watching right now. But to describe it, I guess, verbally right quick to you, it's a little small group of people like on the sidewalk, probably somewhere around this protest. There's one girl's booty right there, and she's in the white shorts, and you'll see her, and it's just like, dude, I can't even stop looking at it. All right, she did a good job. It's very distracting, but she's right there, and she's trying to console this man who just set his arm on fire. The police are closing in on this man. It's got like two or three officers right there on his ass, to try and stop him from doing this stuff. So they go ahead and they put the fire out. And meanwhile, he's yelling that he's a journalist. And I find that a little bit funny if I'm going to go ahead and poke fun because you're not exactly a journalist. Like, I don't think this is what journalists do. You could have been a journalist, and maybe you're still sort of a journalist, but in that moment, you're being much more than a journalist, right? You're being what they would call an activist, I would say. And maybe he's pushed over the edge. Really can't say. I don't know if we're going to get to the bottom of it. There's so much going on, right? But apparently, this guy, I guess he's working for one of them big networks, ABC or something like that. And I guess he's supposed to put on like anti Palestine news or whatever. I couldn't even tell you. I don't exactly know anymore what the heck they're supposed to do, but he was saying, so I'm like, we're the misinformation. We're the misinformation. And he was saying, let me turn off this sound real quick before it makes some crazy noise. Power on. All right. That's kind of wild and very misled. So, I guess, an interesting story. I'm pretty sure it's made zero impact on the powers that be and whether or not they want to continue this war. I think the answer is that they do still want to continue. Even after you set your left arm on fire, and the thing is, I wish you the best, but probably you're going to have big, big problems with your left arm for the rest of your whole life. And I hope that every time you ask yourself if it's worth it that you did it, I hope that the answer is always yes, because from where I'm sitting, the answer is certainly no. It's for sure no. But see, if the answer was no in your mind, oh, that it wasn't worth it, then that would be you doing a dumb, dumb thing and putting yourself through all sort of grief, which you didn't have to do that. Real quick, I want to mention, and it kind of blew my mind. Earlier this weekend, I just want to let y'all know, I got real indulgent, if you will. Mainly been eating stuff, dude. I've been eating and eating and eating, carrying on, eating, having little whatever, cake and stuff like that. All right. It's recently my birthday, all right? When I hadn't got a cake, that means somebody's got to eat it. That somebody's me. And other kind of stuff, man. Just carrying on eating stuff, all right? This weekend. It's one of those weekends. Indulgent, man. And, a little bit of working out, but not too much. All right, but last night, for example, I was hanging out. Shout out to what used to be my littlest niece. She used to be my littlest niece. Now I got even more littler nieces. All right, but a young lady, my niece, and gosh, it blew my mind, quite honestly, and I mean, sincerely did blow my mind. I was hanging out with her. I don't know how old people are, dude. Like, and I hardly know when their birthday is and stuff like that. But she just graduated high school, so about that age, about that age. And it's honestly blowing my mind. And I want to be careful to say like it's not just because she's my niece and I'm like embellishing something. I'm really not. This young girl for the age of perhaps 18 or something like near that. Uh, she knows a lot of stuff, buddy. Knows a lot of stuff. Very smart, very sharp. And I want to acknowledge that in general, and I say it a lot, women, they don't have no capacity. They don't really have no good capabilities when it comes to, say, politics, for example, or certain things, right? There's certain things that they're just not in their realm. It's not in their wheelhouse. But that doesn't mean all women. It's never all women. It's going to be some women who are actually quite adept in politics, all right, and really, really expert in it. Well, last night, I got to say, in talking with my niece, it was mind blowing. I find myself, like a lot of y'all, ahead of the curve, discussing tomorrow's news today, right? Because we have some sort of sense, right? And in different various ways, I gotta assume that we all ended up here thinking our deep thoughts, really anticipating why people are doing these awful things that they're doing. Um, and in my personal experience, I gotta admit, at 18 years old, roundabout, I did not know anything. I can't remember knowing anything. And it's kind of wild to think that 18 years old was more than half of my lifetime away. Well, more. What is it? I'm like 38. So it's definitely more than half of my lifetime away. And I didn't know nothing. I knew nothing about nothing. And, you know, gosh, the way I imagine that that's happened is, for one, maybe my niece is possible that she's naturally just smarter than I am and more sharper. That's possible, and I'll concede that it probably is the case. But however, even more so, I gotta say, it's like politics, especially back then, back when I was, what is that, about 20 years ago. Politics was very, very boring, right? And it was meant to make you go to sleep. And so people our age just certainly would not want to pay attention to any of that bullshit. But in this day, these times, I gotta say it does make a little bit more sense. It's very much more exciting, be it from the wars, the encroaching wars. It kind of makes it more exciting. But I shall have to declare that the biggest difference be that Donald Trump made it exciting. Donald Trump made it exciting to be more aware. Perhaps times were so concerning that intelligent folks have no choice but to be very aware. Anyways, without just getting off too much in the weeds, she did explain a sentiment that a lot of people do explain who are about her age, college age. It's not unreasonable. I gotta say, because you always look at youngsters and you say, "Oh, you're just being idealistic. You're just being a young person who doesn't know anything." Right? I gotta say, it's pretty. As do understand it for sure. It's very simple. Be it TikTok, and it's not just on TikTok. There's different other platforms in which for months and months, because they've been doing this for like over a year now. Time flies by, but Israel has been on a campaign of smacking niggas around for like over a year. So all the carnage that takes place, people have seen it on TikTok and everywhere else, and they get to where they're not liking Israel. And actually, I've ran into plenty of folks, and I run into more and more folks don't like Israel. And I think, although it could change, depending on person, for the most part, nobody cares. Nobody cares about Jewish people. Nobody's saying one way or another. They're not wanting to hunt Jewish people down. No, I'm nobody I run with for sure. Nobody who I've ever heard from wants to hunt Jewish folks down. It's just so that they see what exactly Israel's doing. And when I say Israel, of course, I mean their government, along with their military, carrying out a lot of, gruesome things. So they see that and they don't like that. And so they're against Israel. And I just can't blame them for that. Me personally, as I stated before, I'm going to go ahead and stay out of it. And you might even wonder why at this point, because, I've said that I think there's plenty of things that Israel's done that they shouldn't have done, and that makes them bad actors in bad faith. So shouldn't I be against them? And the thing is, I guess that kind of does make sense. But at the same time, it's too hard to know. It's way over across the world. And certainly terroristic things have been done to the people of Israel back and forth. It's been a back and forth. The biggest reason that I won't be pro Palestine, pro Israel, is because there's a number one, there's like a principle of not choosing sides. You don't know who's done what and what's done what and all the history behind it. But hoping, praying for some sort of agreement, and peace, some sort of treaty to be made in which people stop freaking dying, especially women and children. If we could make that stop happening, that would be great. And to me, it seems that that principle is simple enough to the point is where I don't have to choose sides. And let's say I did choose sides. Let's say I wanted to be on the Palestine side. I'm on the same side as this guy over here, lighting his damn stupid left arm on fire. All right. Oh man, I just can't stop looking at that girl's booty. But um, I'm not on his side. I'm just not on his side. All right. I'm certainly not going to light myself or my left arm on fire. Now, before we get up out of here, I gotta say, man, when it comes to about this time every Sunday, I gotta admit, every Sunday about this time, it's hard for me to keep my damn eyes open if you can't tell. Look at them. They're heavy as shit. But I did want to talk about this sort of stuff, Like I said, shout out to my niece. Incredibly smart, dude. And I wouldn't like encourage anybody to do anything if it's not their own idea and stuff like that. And for example, we're talking about like content creators, public figures, people talking politics, but it's more popular than say people talking politics is women talking politics. You haven't noticed, man, when women talk politics, uh, people really want to hear it. And in my theory, like I said before, women ain't good at politics. There's certain ones who will start to, really wrap their minds around politics. And it's rare. I'm gonna throw it out there, it's rare. So like people, I don't know, for example, what's that girl name? Brett Cooper. Brett Cooper. And you don't have to know everything. not anybody knows everything, but you're a lady. You bring that to the table. You say, "Hey, guess what? I know stuff about politics," and men go wild. That's kind of the problem. So now you're gonna get funding. Now you got attention, this and that, but you got the attention of absolute weirdos and perverts. Probably are gonna be all trying to get all up at you and stuff. You're a public figure, so I wouldn't encourage people to do it. I mean, it's one thing if you just want to be smart with politics, but it's a whole other thing if you wanted to actually like make that a career, right? Even if you did have that capability. So that's all hypotheticals, for out in the future for a young budding lady. Let me just say, if you're a lady out there and you know some stuff about politics, right? Um, First of all, I'm gonna have to interject and say you probably don't. It's normal for you to think that you do know because I would say that most women probably think that they do know stuff about politics. And most women, especially in America, probably they have some notion that they understand politics and they feel like they should have like an input, right? And that's why, for whatever reason, they got the right to vote. They wanted the input. They wanted to put in their input. So it seems to me like the majority of them think that it's relevant. It's not relevant at all. All right. And it's not worth it, anybody thinking about typically because you don't have a mind for it. It's kind of a logical thing that you have to think about. Whereas most women are emotional and also they're just not interested in that sort of thing. They're just not interested. They like to ride waves. They like to hear catchphrases and stuff like that. And that's just about how far they go into politics, right? It's rare. And it's interesting to think about the hypotheticals, all right? In this generation, the types of people who rise um, far above what the previous generation did. It's very inspiring. It's very inspiring. But at the same time, before we get about here, I do want to mention, of course, uh, impending doom, doom and destruction and disaster. Like, of course, I think, of course, people have to recognize. Maybe not everybody, but a lot of people have recognized, for example, doom, destruction coming their way. I know I've heard people talking about this and that, got to get prepared for a long time, for years now, but more and more as time goes on, people do talk about that, about getting prepared. All right. And one example, you got those people over there in Appalachia and different various surrounding areas, in which have gotten their lives all fucked up. All right. And turned upside down. And now they're scrambling to figure out how exactly they're going to live. So this happens to people. It's not something that's like if you're sitting here like me in a place that seems pretty stable, pretty peaceful. You're liking to think, oh man, it shouldn't, chaos wouldn't come here. Chaos will definitely come here. And over there in North Carolina and other various places, it certainly did show up. Showed up right on their front door. Now, um, I suppose we'll talk about the election and other things that are supposed to go down here before the end of the year. But since we're talking about North Carolina, I do want to bring it up. It's all very quite interesting. The debates, the this and that, the back and forth that are happening now, but have been happening for a long, long time. Like especially concerning stuff that is sprayed in the sky from out by jets and stuff. Sometimes heavily, sometimes they're in patterns. Stuff being sprayed for years and years and years now, I've heard people say, "Oh man, you're just being like a crazy guy and stuff. And you got no evidence and stuff like that." That's only condensation. Even though it looks a whole lot different than certain other condensation trails, looks different, and it kind of, for example, will tend. Let's say if they're spraying heavily in the sky, I tend to notice the sky turning gray a lot, just covered in a sheet of gray. All right, so it does definitely do something uh, to the blocking of the sun that's coming and getting us. But anyways, what's very interesting is that there's this debate, and now we're probably past it, but for a long time, people wanted to like prove um, that the government is trying to manipulate the weather. And in this instance, wouldn't you know it, before the hurricanes, days before, you have witnesses attesting to heavy, heavy spraying in the atmosphere. The thing is, there'd be people out there who would say, and they're gonna always say, that's the thing about it, you're never gonna change their mind. And you cannot wake up a person who is only pretending to be asleep. I heard somebody say that recently. So, so the whole entire time, if you might be proving, let's say you're trying to prove it to some person who doesn't believe it. You're saying, "Oh man, I believe that the government had manipulated this hurricane in order to change its trajectory and to hit people when they were unawares. And now they're really reeling from it. Now they're kind of devastated because there's this manipulation going on. Nobody told them about it. And it was actually done by the government, in which they've manipulated this hurricane, not only the trajectory, but perhaps even the strength of the hurricane, thereby making it more devastating." All right, and then of course to go further, now you got a hurricane that I can't remember, but I think it's called Milton, some sort of hurricane. And what I say is trajectory is going to cut right through Florida, right through it, like right down the middle of it and across. So some people would say, that could be some more weather weaponry upon our ass. And it's supposed to add injury to insult and be even more devastating to spots who are already flooded and already kind of devastated, to get like a resurgence more. And okay, inevitably, some politician, if not many, many politicians, are going to say this is all a result of global warming, and we did a bad, bad thing. Now pay us all your money. Certainly, they are going to say that. And so we're going to be over here saying, "Oh, no, no, we think the government went ahead and manipulated the weather, made all this happen. We suspect y'all." And that's where it's going to stay. It's going to be a stalemate in that regard. Stalemate. It's interesting. I don't know if I'm bringing it up because I don't know if I ever heard anyone say this, but obviously it's something we'd want to consider. It's like, okay, listen, we know that they have had the technology to manipulate the weather for decades and decades, and we're talking clear back to the Vietnam War. All right. We've known about it because we're smart. They tried to keep it from us and stuff like that. We figured it out that they had that. Now, for less amount of time, but still now for a considerable amount of years, they've admitted that they had this. So not only did we figure out they're doing it, but eventually they even came out and said, "Hey, like, yeah, we had this. We have this technology. Not only do we have it, but other countries have it. And now we got to make sure, like, that they don't go crazy with it." We have it submitted. They have it. Okay, all right. You have it. We knew you had it before you admitted it. We knew you had it for years before you admitted it. You have it. You had the technology. You have it. That's the end of the story. You have it. You have those capabilities. Am I right? Okay, so you have them. What you need to do, this is from people who be free people. Free people would demand accountability. They would say, look, we need to know in what ways you're manipulating the weather, how, when, why, where, all in a report, all before you do it. We need to know how you're manipulating the weather. See, because we come at it like, oh, accusational, like, hey, we know that you're manipulating the weather and you manipulated the weather over here, causing devastation through this hurricane. All right. And they're gonna like stalemate us and then say we don't have no evidence and keep cruising. But however, if we had, I mean, that's the thing about it. They have the technology. We know you have it. So what you had to do is report to us if and when, because we know you're doing it, when you put your little manipulation, how you did it, for what reason did you do it, why'd you do it? Okay, and we're is our money being put into it? We all right, y'all. So I don't know really where it cut off, but I don't know if maybe I was starting to cook. You know what I mean? And YouTube was like, "Gotta cut this shit off." Right? He's talking about, and I'll leave it there. I mean, that's how simple it is to me. We know you have the technology. You've had it for a long time. Don't we have weather situations? Aren't you talking about climate change? You have this. You have access to this. When are you using it? When? Why? How? Where? All right, because we were playing this game like, oh, do they have it? Do they not have it? We freaking know that they have it. And for example, if they're giving you all sort of reports on why they were doing it, where they were doing it, how they were doing it, we as people would be able to track exactly what they're doing, what they're trying to do, how successful that they're being, and how much they don't know what the fuck they're doing. Oh no, you got to keep that all a secret. That's all national secrets. Because if we just told people, then, of course, our whole country would go up into chaos like it's doing right now. So, gonna get up out of here. Gonna get some good rest, man. I just can't wait. I just can't wait to enter that other dimension of dreamland, not the dead dimension. Although, who's to say? But it does seem to me very interesting. I've made the prediction a long, long time ago. I don't really see people running around making this prediction a lot. But I said it ain't gonna be no election. I'm here to tell you. Because I know that there's various ways they can call it off. Now, in this regard, we'll see how bad it is in Florida. I imagine whatever damage happens in Florida, that at least the state of Florida will be pretty good in helping people out, but who knows how devastating it might be, right? There's plenty of people who will not be able to vote in this election if this election was to go down on time, right? They lost their whole lives, been floated down the river, and now they got like dead loved ones. Not gonna happen, right? Not for them. That's already a factor right there. Of course, there's escalating war. Which any day you wake up, you can wake up on any day, and I'm sure I just wake up and I'm like, okay, did something bad happen over in the Middle East? there's a good chance it did. So escalation and stuff like that, of course. Um, it's so interesting. I'm gonna get up out of here, but for example, you've probably heard people say this, and I do. I tend to totally, absolutely agree. And this is why I'm saying the prediction I'm saying. You know, this is a lot of X factors, but imagine they do have an election. All right, it's coming up very soon. And and I know from like the media and the propaganda that I've seen and witnessed to, is that no matter what, no matter who wins, the other side will be pissed, not only pissed, but they will be very unforgiving as well. And they will feel like somebody has cheated, and they will feel like the results are illegitimate, no matter who wins. No matter who wins. And some might say, oh, isn't that always the case in America? Actually, it was never, ever the case, or at least for my age, for my lifetime. No, people just changed over. That was back when politics were boring. They would just change over, not really care about it. In this one, people are going to be so outraged that violence is damn near inevitable somehow in different fashions, no matter who wins. That's if they have an election. That's how chaotic it really, really is. And it's coming. That's if they have an election. Or there's a chance that they won't even have an election and still tensions will building up. So even that is it's a really no good avenue to go down. It's gonna get all wild and quite rambunctious. I'm wishing everybody the best, and I would like to not commit violence on anybody. Let's get up out of here. But that does seem to be like the only option, so it's gonna go down. All right, as far as I know, I'm not sure. But anyways, I'll holler at y'all. I'll holler at y'all a little bit later. I'm about to pass out. And we're gonna see. I'm gonna holler at you tomorrow. All right, we're gonna see about probably not on YouTube, maybe on X. Look to set that up. Get some X stuff going and see if I can figure out how it works. It is kind of the end of the day. It's a little bit late on everything, but might as well give it our best as we go down. We go down, we go all the way down to Chinatown. I'll holler at y'all a little bit later.